One eagle says it's the grandmother rock that collects the
Oh,
energy, and it sends it up.
is that the rock?
That's the rock. The energies
Yeah.
come. That the indigenous culture would have said the energies and felt that the energies came from the grandmother rock to the north,
Right.
and then it was
Spread.
encompassed around the
Oh,
the
wow.
arrowhead shape. Like so, basically, up here.
Yes.
Look, this is not something like that.
Yeah.
This is like an arrowhead. Going
There's a kind of beauty to the sun shining on the direction of here, connected to the grandmother rock, connected to all the space, and being at the highest point. Like
Yeah,
there's
so
a
if you look
beautiful,
around,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
a lot
to
of high
see.
shores, but this is
Hey everyone, it's Robert here from danceScape. It is a beautiful fall morning here in Huntsville, and we are so fortunate to have as our special guest
Cathy Grevin.
Cathy and her husband John, as well as some of her family members, are part of our danceScape community. And we met Cathy through classes, but at some point Cathy mentioned about this particular special place on her property that consisted of these amazing rocks. And we finally have the chance to be able to come here. So, Cathy, can you share a little bit about, first of all, the context of your family here in Huntsville, but then about these special rocks that we see?
Way in the 1800s, my family lived in Huntsville, and they, as part of their many jobs they did logging. And in the logging course of things, as they were going around to log, they came across this property that they fell in love with. And when the logging was finished in the area, they ended up purchasing from the fellow who had the crown patent. So he had a sawmill here, definitely lumbering, all tied together. They bought from him, and as his family was moving away. So we ended up with about over 200 acres
Wow, that's amazing.
of land, and we have tried to keep it as natural as possible.
Yeah.
In our looking at our land and walking around, we became aware of this rock area. So our family has cottaged here. We were the first cottagers on all the lakes around here, and they started by moving into the frame building, insulated with sawdust, and therefore lots of rodents as well, because they like it being cozy in the winter. They moved into that, and that became the family cottage from 1905 until the next cottages were built in 1946. And every one of them, driving out, it would take all day to come from Huntsville, and then they would borrow a rowboat from way over in that corner of the bay and row across. And they did that from 1905 until 1946 when they built a road. And the road is this road we use now.
Right.
So as we had the road here, we would walk through our property, and we found these rocks, and we thought, wow, these are... And
there's something special. You instinctively knew there was something
there was something really
them.
special about them. And the things we're going to see in a minute show how special they were, because it's not... These are called erratics, and they're dropped by the glaciers. As the glaciers are retreating, they melt through and they drop the rocks that they picked up. So who knows where they came from?
Yeah.
But
that's really interesting because, for city folks like us, if we're walking through the, forest and we come across rocks, our reaction probably would have been, oh, look at this, isn't that beautiful? But you somehow saw a connection beyond that. They were just here naturally, right?
So we started to say, well, this is interesting. Because Muskoka is full of rock faces that are not erratics. They're just rock faces. But these ones,
how the alignment and the placement,
the arrangement of them,
the
formation
attention.
was interesting. Oh, look what's over here.
Yeah.
So as we were looking, we became aware that this rock in the grouping was facing north, and we didn't know how far north. We just felt northish, And then we looked down. And we said, "Oh, there's one down there."
Right.
Oh gosh, yeah, you can see that. That's kind of in line with what we think would be north-south.
Exactly.
And then we looked over and we went, "Oh my goodness, we've got
Another
rocks
one.
here."
Yes.
But each of the rocks is on the edge of a hill.
Yes.
And that's what makes them. There's something about each of them that is really interesting.
Right.
Because why didn't they just tumble down the hill?
Exactly. Yeah, because that one, which we'll see shortly as we tour, is it could almost fall off, and yet it still remains.
Solid.
Amazing.
Solid. It's not teetering, it's solid.
Yeah.
So there it is in this configuration.
Yeah. And being up here too, it is like maybe at the highest point of where we are, and looking down at the water as well. There is something special definitely about
and likely they
here.
came by canoe.
Right.
And
Yes.
And there are some situations, some places that we've had dugout canoes have been found in the lake.
Right.
And that's what they would bear. What they would do is walk, and then they would sink their canoes and then go down and dig.
Why would they sink their canoes?
Because they wanted to preserve them, and they wanted to not have them stolen. So they would make these canoes were hand dug out of trees, right? They were trees that were dug, and so they would sink, put the canoes full of rock, sink them to the bottom of the lake.
Yeah.
And then when they came back, they would dive down, dig out the rocks,
Perfect.
refloat the canoe, and they had a canoe to use. So that we feel that over where our cottages are, that was where they used to camp. According to Whitey.
I see. Yes. now that we're here on the North Rock, can you share some information about North?
It faces north, which was really important in Indigenous culture. They went by the compass points, and they had different colors and different seasons for each of the 4 points.
Right.
And so this one, they are not random. They're not placed. They're here, but the fact that they're here at this orientation was special to the Indigenous people.
Right.
And this being the North Rock, the North is really important. And it's where, in a gathering, the rock would be bringing in energies, good energies, to the community that was going to celebrate or meet here.
Right.
So that's what we feel happened, that this was seen as, it was here already. It was like, wow, the Indigenous people would have said, wow, look at this, it's already in place for us, and it's like it was meant to be for us.
Yes. So one of our mutual friends is White Eagle, and many of you probably already know about her. She's done so much for Indigenous culture, Indigenous awareness. At some point, you told White Eagle about this.
Well, we brought her up here for a vacation, actually, at Merrymeet.
Oh, right.
So at the cottage that we've been staying at this weekend.
Yes.
And so she came up with her family, and we said, would you like to come up and see what we think are our special rocks? And she said, sure, I'd love to. So it was bug season. So she's not, White Eagle's an urban Indigenous. I'm telling tales out of school, but she wouldn't mind because she openly admits it. And she's not the type that just loves to get into camping and hardships of outdoors. So she's urban Indigenous. She's now the mayor's Indigenous advisor. So she's really has a very prominent place in Burlington. But she's urban. So, but she does have her roots. She's a full Indigenous person with card carrying, so she's got her roots in the Delaware group, and she's interested in learning because she was part of the '60s scoop, and so therefore disconnected from her culture. But she has the knowing, and so she hasn't missed a step really. Well, she's come on, she knows what's happened here.
Right.
So when she came up here, she right away felt the specialness.
She felt
of this.
it. Yeah.
And she was the one who pointed out the grandmother.
Oh, yes.
That's down there. We'd never even noticed. Because there's erratics around here all over the place.
Yeah.
Not in this formation, but erratics. So we never really thought to look further than what we had found. And she goes, whoa.
Wow.
The power is down there.
Wow.
And so we added another piece to our story of our knowing of what's happened here.
Yeah.
And background is, she can trace her background back to Tecumseh.
Oh, amazing.
So there's a whole other piece of story that goes with all of that. Right. Tecumseh was seen as a traitor in the United States during the war that he supported the British.
Right.
So he had to bring his family to Canada to protect them because they were being hunted, basically. And so she can trace her knowing, and he was one of the ones who knows these things, who can see, has the sight, shall we say.
Right.
And it skips a generation, but she has it, so she's looking to see who of her grandchildren.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. So this is going to be another great interview once we get White Eagle on board with us.
Yeah,
and
it
would be amazing because, you've shared that there might be something that's happening soon in terms of planning a retreat in this area. So stay tuned.
That would be good. Like a healing retreat.
Healing retreat.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And we've known you for some time, Cathy, and you have this full sense of always learning, but also there is another level to you where you can, I would say, read energy. Like, I think that's really
learning.
Open to it because you shared that your sister and yourself had this instinct, and a lot of times instinct is something that you can't say. That instinct is something that you either have or not, and some say intuition is something that you either have or don't, or the feeling of how energy flows. Some people are more gifted than others. Have you always had that growing up, or is something that you became attuned to? No.
Actually, years ago at our church at Port Nelson, a really good friend of mine had started a women's group in the church, a women's book group, basically. It started as, but then we branched off into all sorts of other things. And a woman who was a Métis healer was brought to our group, and she did a number of retreats with us. And I was just fascinated. She would talk about orbs, or she would say, talking in the middle of a discussion, she'd say, no, I'm going to get to that. She said, you wouldn't believe how many of the ancestors are with us today, but and she said, they're asking me questions, they're getting impatient.
Wow.
And so she would be sort of in two different worlds as she was talking to us. It was fascinating. And so I took courses that she offered. And
amazing.
Then I started reading, some of the books that have been written about just stories that, there's one called The Eagle and the Rose, Rosemary Altea, and she's a person who has the sight as well.
Oh, yes.
And she had it was not Indigenous, but she had an Indigenous elder who was her advisor.
Yes.
So
that's something. You said the eagle and the rose?
Yeah.
Those are two symbols that, at a personal level, I connect with. And in fact, White Eagle and ourselves, Beverly and ourselves, share a story about visiting.
Nothing needs to be
I think
said.
it's in Stony Creek, Battlefield Creek. And when we were with her, an eagle appeared
you see
as
that?
we were connecting for the first
I
time.
attached that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw that video. Beautiful.
You know what?
The rose also is very connected with us because when we moved and Beverly's father passed away, but at some point we were selling her family home. Her father always took care of rose bushes. And so as part of what Beverly did was she took her father's, one of her father's rose bushes and moved it to our home. And it's flourishing through there. And at certain points, and whether it's, these are just synchronicities in life, whether it's coincidence or whether there's a higher thing, it doesn't matter because the reality is the meaningfulness that we come to appreciate when things like this happen. And so the rose is an amazing symbol. So I'm going to check out that book because there's insights that we can kind of gather through all.
She's written a series, not a series, but a number of books.
Right.
Not series really, but they're some tell about her younger life when she had problems because of her having this sight, and her mother didn't understand that.
Right.
And then how she connected with the indigenous side of things.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a really, really good.
And Cathy or John have amazing faith. They're people of faith. And I find for myself, coming from Asian culture, my family is kind of a hybrid because my grandmother would have followed the traditions of Buddhism, but even within Buddhism, not traditional Buddhism, there would be superstitions that she would follow. And yet, at some point, she did convert to Catholicism. And that's always something I found growing up, that somehow the two merge. And so on the one hand, I hear them saying, oh, yeah, God, Christ is, I don't know how you say that, is the one and only. But on the other hand, because they've grown up culturally, then you hear, oh, there are evil spirits around. And maybe contextually there are. How have you reconciled that, or do you find that it just your faith?
I think White Eagle and I have had a lot of discussions about that.
Perfect.
Because she's got the indigenous culture, and she's a very strong Christian.
There you go. Yes.
And so she does not see a problem because truth is truth.
Yes.
And it can be simplified in many ways. And
very true.
Part of the missionary problems were that they insisted that truth be told or understood in a certain way.
Yeah.
But it wasn't taking into account the cultures and how people have
Very
arrived
true.
at the truth their
Very
own way.
true.
So I don't have any issues with that.
No, I completely agree with you. And sometimes we are limited by language, or we come from a certain viewpoint that comes from a base of a language. But I'm sure, that different languages have different expressions of what we feel. But it's great. I feel the same way, actually. I had to process going through. So at some point it was strictly this, how can it be that? And then, of course, as every Asian kid grows up, they want their kids either to be lawyers, dentists, or doctors. So I did my stint, in terms of going into undergrad, and then you get into a westernized space of mind. And then at some point, there are too many things that, and it's okay to have that discussion. So I'm so glad to hear that from you.
No, there's not a conflict. In fact, when we have been on our Developing World Connections, the people who have the Buddhist backgrorounds have the serenity and even though they have been through Holocaust type of things in their existence through the Vietnam War and Pol Pot and all the rest of it, they look at it in a very different way, that they don't carry the grudge.
Right.
And they are
which is really in today's world.
And they experience the loss
important.
as much as anyone else, and the heartbreak, and yet they move on with their life in a way that they're looking for the hope.
Exactly. Which is actually a great message for the times we live in right now. And thankfully there are people like you and ourselves that hopefully sees a higher purpose, that we can keep sharing that information and keep drumming it out there and all of that.
And the truth is so important.
Now, you mentioned at some point orbs, and I know you've shared the story of orbs. Can you let others know about your experience with that?
Orbs were something that we came across, again, through Catherine, who was the Métis teacher that we had at the church. We had drumming circles and all kinds of things that were really fun. She would talk. She had us all at one point, we were all down in a room, and she said, everybody bring your camera this time. And so we had brought our camera. She said, just take random pictures around of things that are going on. And we had to go home and get things developed, right? So that was the old days.
I still remember
that. And so interesting enough, they were that kind of thing. And she picked up her film just before she came down the next week that she had put in. And we all did. I think we might have had the cameras that you had the little memory card at that point, but you couldn't. It was better to go and see it on a bigger screen.
Right.
So when we came back, she showed us her photographs that she had. And in those, and we know we were just we were actually trying channeling, which was a funny thing to try to figure out what what people's energies were telling us, and we were working on that with no experience and very little success in my part. But anyway, some were good. And so she said, we looked at these pictures, and I said, "Who's that looking in the window of that? Who is that?"
Wow.
And we're looking at a human frame. Now, this is not exactly. We're looking at a human shape.
Wow.
And she says, "Well, just somebody." And I said, "Oh my gosh!" And I was sitting beside so and so, but there's somebody between us.
Whoa.
Who is that? And she says, and so she's talking about the energies. And at one point, there were these big balls that she'd taken a picture of that were into the room that were just circling around.
Right.
She can see them. We couldn't, but some people can.
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, those are orbs," and I'd never heard of orbs before. So I went home and looked it up. And so they're supposed to be, and there's all sorts of people will say, "Oh, that's something on your camera." That's a bit of dust, that's or whatever. But when you expand these things, because we can do that with our cameras or our phones these days, or computers, you expand it, and it becomes like an organic shape inside, like almost like a brain. It's the strangest thing. It's not like an empty bubble, but it looks like a bubble, and they can be the ones we captured at our 100th anniversary of cottaging here. We're all white orbs.
Wow.
But White Eagle takes often they're green, and recently we saw some that were blue, and sometimes they're like a bubble on the outside of them, and they're different colors, and then inside they could be clear, or sometimes they're solid. But they're supposed to be energies. Right.
Well, here's the thing. Because Cathy had invited us up this weekend, it gave myself a chance to do dance flow Qigong Tai Chi by the dock, as well as this beautiful bridge, which you'll see in some of our upcoming series. And with the philosophy of Qigong about Qi being life or primordial energy, we can understand energy in so many different contexts, whether you take a scientific view or whether you take an experiential, intuition, feeling view. But the reality is that light is energy, and how energy either transmits itself through our own experience, our interpretations, or whether it's scientific. You can prove molecules do this and light do this. The reality is it's still light doing an unusual thing that are synchronistic, that have meaning. And at a certain point in time, that has meaning for you. You said the 100th anniversary, right?
Well, so the pictures that we got back of our 100th anniversary, or that we printed, I don't remember, that was a while ago. But we had a very old canoe from 1910. And my brother, because he lives at the place where the family started their cottaging now. He's built his own home. We towed 100 candles out onto the water.
Oh, beautiful.
And so he was paddling with this flotilla of 100 candles. And when we looked at the picture, there were thousands of orbs in it.
Wow.
It was just amazing. Beautiful. And some were inside other orbs. And the whole thing was it was almost like a fog of orbs. It was beautiful. And then we started looking around at the other pictures. And there were orbs all over the place.
Incredible.
So it was we knew that the relatives had come and were celebrating with us. That's how we interpreted it. Anyway, and probably the indigenous people were there too. And I'll tell you a story that White Eagle told us about the North Rock. About the indigenous that she met.
Met. or we can also save that for White Eagle telling or retelling that. But so why don't we do this, Cathy? Why don't we go from rock to rock and share any stories, histories that you have? All right. So we said a lot about the North, but is there anything else that you would like to share?
Other than that was where White Eagle did her training, but if you want to leave it for her, that's fine. But
why don't we leave this as a cliffhanger? Stay tuned. Cliffhanger. So I'm just going to walk with Cathy now.
There's a tree growing out of the rock here, and I hadn't realized there was one starting on this one.
It's incredible how one tree grows out of a rock, and so many times in city centers, you have a hard time growing anything, right?
It doesn't want to catch, but these things grow in rocks here. So this rock is an interesting shape, but if you look at it, we're on the edge of a hill going down, and look at under here. This would be normally the bottom of the rock, right? Because it's flat. But there's a rock here, and you'll see more as you go around to the other side. So it's just sitting there. It's solid, but it's on its precarious angle. And keep walking.
And is there some at the back as well? Oh my gosh! Look at that. We always say, whether it's dance or another skill, the foundation is everything. And look at this, multiple foundations holding this huge
rock. It's like it's already rolling because the bottom is up in the air.
And if you didn't have the foundation, this rock would just tumble, but it hasn't. So, and do you think that this was purposefully placed like this?
Well, if it wasn't, it was amazing
It's
find.
it's too much
for the indigenous.
Oh,
Indigenous,
exactly.
right? Because this is not the only one.
No.
And it would have ended up down there.
Look at the landscape up here.
Yeah, it would have got, because you can't count these trees.
No.
This is 3,000 years ago, and plus we're talking.
You know, it almost defies physics, really, at the end of the day, isn't it?
They're huge rocks.
And
this one looks like a rock face underneath here. It's like a like an implanted one. But these ones are like placed.
It is.
And they've rolled it to where the spot where it just settled.
Yes, exactly.
And it settled to the west.
Yes, incredible.
So that is one piece. Now you'll see even when you look at the compass points, which we didn't for many years, we never thought about a compass. But the fellow that came up here that we were talking to, who did the ground penetrating radar, we thought we would like him to do a scan of this area, and he said, really, it's going to take a couple of days to do it. I can't just, I would feel bad if I just did a couple passes and I probably wouldn't see anything. So he said, there's probably things, he says, I can feel it. And he said, let me just take a bearing on your rocks. And he said, north, south, east, west. Yep, that's where they're sitting. And they're very seemingly intentionally placed, except they're like nature.
Yes.
But this doesn't seem like nature.
No.
That one up there does.
Yeah. And look at that, the sun peering through.
Yeah,
the connectedness.
It's beautiful.
Amazing, Cathy. Thanks for sharing that. This is incredible.
So that's the first guy. So let's go. So you want to walk over to the east one?
Perfect.
So just keep in mind what's happened here.
And you can see again the rocks that Cathy had mentioned, right? Just a few small ones supporting this huge rock. Wow.
And the fact it's so pretty flat on the bottom.
And look at that.
It's normal.
Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes, you know, it's too much of a coincidence that something like this, whether it's aligned with the compass or a few rocks supporting a huge one like this one. Yeah. That's incredible.
How would they move it?
Well, exactly. Yeah.
As I was saying to John this morning, we all have this arrogance that knowledge has increased as we go.
Yeah.
We've lost knowledge.
No, it's true.
So
and a lot of the traditions in many culture has been oral. And so sometimes you do, one loses that. Other cultures have tried to retain that information through written culture, but the oral tradition is so connected to many different cultures.
So we'll go over to the east rock now.
Now you can start to see where the water is coming from. And this is the east rock, Cathy? See the terrain. And here you go again.
Please.
On the edge
Of a very steep hill.
Of a very steep hill, where modern physics would say, you know, something would naturally fall in, but through the connection of human ingenuity.
Even to here.
Look at that. And that small rock just placed underneath as well.
Holding it for the
incredible.
Centuries.
And there you go, the common theme. Everything is based on principles that are seemingly simple, but leads to these complex interactions. That's awesome, Cathy. The stories that these rocks could tell.
Oh my God, wouldn't it be lovely to be able to talk into that? So Marcy and I have actually burned she brought some sage from a Métis friend in Kamloops, BC, where she's from.
Yes.
And so we burned some of the sage up on top of that
wonderful.
rock one day.
Is there any significance, do you think, or it's subject to maybe even talking to Wild Eagle about the rock's placement relative to the water? Mm-hmm. Any awareness of it? And also, why the smaller rock? Is that just something that randomly appeared? Yeah.
Just the normal. Because you see there's outcroppings.
Oh, yes. That's
some
right.
of them you're not going to get like
no, exactly.
Some of them are the whole face.
Yeah.
And they just dropped the
right.
They dropped
right.
as they went.
Yeah.
And lots of little rocks around here that.
Excellent.
You know, who knows over 3,000 years
exactly.
whether they use them for anything or not. I don't know.
Yeah. So we've covered the north, east, and west. The South Rock has an interesting story as well.
Yeah, it's the little one.
And look at the sun peering through.
Beautiful. Now the other piece down here is that somewhere here is a big rock face, and we think that if the indigenous people came up the lake on their, and we think it was not, they didn't live here. It was a ceremonial ground, is what we felt, and so they camped around where our cottages are, perhaps, came across here, and they would all have known that this big west rock face was where they were coming to. It was like a beacon.
Right.
And we don't know quite where. We've never gone over the edge to know where
interesting.
the rock face is there, or under us, or over here. We don't know.
That might need a drone exploration at some point.
Yeah, that would have been very helpful. Because we're having a surveyor right now.
Very cool. Very cool. Huh?
Yeah. So I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's one of the things of mysteries and time and how information unravels and reveals itself.
Several years ago, my dad, who owned this property, decided he wanted to put it under forest management. And that's a way that you can preserve the land, keep the forest growing in a healthy way, eventually log it if you decide you hold it long enough, but that takes around here a couple hundred years, so most people are not thinking that. And so they came through here, this area, to do their thing to manage the forest, which in some cases was push trees down, in other cases was to ring trees so they would die eventually, to give light so that the trees that were good trees would grow up. And so here they did that, and this little south rock, relatively little, it's a big guy, but over here, the bigger one there, the flat one with the trees lying on it, was the south. It was in line with the north rock, and where I'm standing is in line with the north. And so somewhere right here was where that used to be. So we had just, our family, mainly my sister and I guess, had just discovered this basically arrowhead design, like with the two east-west being much closer to the north and the south being quite far back, this design. And we thought it felt like it was in a north-south direction, which was kind of cool because we knew nothing about Indigenous culture at the time. And then we came back after the forest management crew had been through, and they had rolled that rock because it was in their way on their path.
Wow.
And we went, no, because
they shifted the rock.
Before we had just realized that it was
the perfect alignment.
Yeah, and now it's not so much, but we know where it used to be.
That's just men not knowing, not questioning, and doing what they do.
Both those things to get the job done.
Yeah, exactly.
And no understanding of it. But when we had a fellow with ground penetrating radar come up here, and we were asking him about whether he could see if there were any evidence of Indigenous presence here. And he said, for sure, he said, you can feel it. He said, you can feel that this is a special spot. And he said, I can't do it until I have a couple of days. If you want to hire me for a couple of days where I can do a grid pattern and make sure I've covered it, because he said, who knows? It would not be doing it justice to try to just do a few passes through, understandably. But he said, I totally feel, not that you'd find something necessarily because it was so long ago, but, or who knows what they were using back then. It could have all disappeared. But, but he said, really, you can just tell that there was something very special happened here. So that was in concurrence with White Eagle and their feeling that this was a very special ceremonial place.
Let's head towards the rock and share other stories you know about the South Rock.
And it's not sitting perched or anything.
Right.
No, you see though, it is almost like a little curve here. There's
a
little fall off there.
Yeah.
So these rocks were definitely on a flatter plane at the top, and often the tops don't have flats.
Right. Perfect.
But this one certainly does.
Yeah.
And it's just getting very solidly. Rolled, and it wasn't rolled from there.
And it was a smaller rock you mentioned.
The smallest by far. Like it's,
and what happened with this rock? Was it in conjunction with it, or that one was already there?
No, I don't know whether this is a piece that came off.
Yeah.
Or whether, like, it could be. Some of them look like they've already cleaved. Like there's a lot of lines that are through these that look like they're ready to crack. Right. And that's just the nature of the way they were pressed together when they were formed. Like even this one has a lot of those in it.
Right.
So whether that was a cleaved one side or whether they were just separate and they rolled them both, I don't know. Right.
But your memory with Marcy was that this was what stood out, this triangle, smaller rock that was on the south face?
This was the south face.
Oh, sorry, that one. The larger one. Yes. Perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
This one I don't know whether it came with it or
it
was here and they just rolled it.
Right.
Because that would make you think that they might have rolled it from a bit further south where that round rock is.
Right.
Still in line with the space we were talking. But, it might have been a little bit right at the edge rather than where I was standing.
Perfect. Excellent.
So, who knows? I mean, White Eagle may.
Yes.
I don't even know whether it would be something that would come up in a conversation that she might have with somebody here. But
Yeah. Wonderful. So we're heading back to the North Rock now. And you mentioned the shape of a spear or a spearhead.
Like an arrowhead.
Arrowhead, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was the thing that we noticed right away when we saw the South Rock.
Right.
Because otherwise, if it was just a
it's not like a circular square. Yes.
Like a normal kind of a thing you would
in a compass. Yeah.
This one has the south one was always way farther.
Right.
Away from the first three.
Exactly.
And so we thought,
That's a good follow-up question also for White Eagle, the meaning of this spearhead shape and how that connects.
Yeah,
Excellent.
I would really like to hear another.
Oh, exactly. So we'll head back now to the North Rock.
We're trying to still unravel the mystery a bit of these rocks. And our finding them in the first place was wonderful. Our history that we've done trying to do other history of this area has given us a bit more information. But the actual truth of the story is still evading us. And we're just fascinated by the good energy that's here, but also we're being tempted to find more. So as we're going down, we thought we would go down to see the big rock down below. And I want to point out another example. Here's a little healthy tree growing up here in the rock again. Look at this.
Incredible, isn't it?
Little birch tree amongst the little ferns that are here.
Even the most barren, or what we perceive as the barren the tree grows.
The roots going down into who knows what. They're finding something that's a new
exactly.
For them. So healthy little tree growing on our special North Rock.
And there's a relationship within the North Rock as well as another special rock.
And so they're going to go down into where White Eagle had pointed out was the energy collector of the energies that are pushed up into this area. And this is our grandmother rock down here. Incredible. And I've never been down here. This is
Be careful.
Really fun.
So this is a first for Cathy and for me as well. So this was the grandmother rock you were referring to, White Eagle had mentioned?
Yes, this is the one that apparently, there's the North Rock we see up there at the top of the hill, and this one is the one that gathers the energies that then end up going up to the north. So this one is the powerful grandmother rock.
Wow. I think that's a beautiful thing. It is indigenous culture, also Asian culture and other cultures, to connect family legacy, family history, and the importance of cumulative information, knowledge from the past, and send that energy to the present, and the alignments with the energy of nature, whether it's the sun or the beautiful setting that you have here. Was there any interesting information that you can share about the implications of a grandmother rock?
So, I think that would be something to ask White Eagle.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that for her is her culture.
And that was something she automatically mentioned to you, that she quickly saw it, right?
She saw it, and we hadn't even noticed it down here.
Wow.
And so she said, no, there's your grandmother rock who gathers the energy for you.
Amazing.
And so I thought, wow, perfect. It's another piece of the puzzle.
That's exactly it. Exactly.
We still have lots more questions, but this is just one more that we have that. And the fact that we always felt a very good energy up here, and she agreed that this whole thing was very positive energy.
The other interesting thing, while I'm standing here with Cathy, I'm noticing the grandmother rock is almost equidistant to the north and the west or east rock. So that's another follow-up question. Like, if this were perfectly aligned, or even if it were coincidental that the rocks are faces away, is there any significance to those quadrants of where this particular rock is located? And also, obviously, the sun is in the sky, but it hits every point of every rock that adds to the beauty,
everything's
right?
lit up today. Yeah, it's a perfect time of day to do this.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
gorgeous. Thank you so much, Cathy, for sharing this amazing information.
My pleasure.
It's just it's always great in our community to have so many caring, knowledgeable, interesting people that expand our minds and to share our collective stories. So really appreciate you.
White Eagles.
Oh yes,
so
Lee.
He comes back to fill us in with some more.
Exactly. I think that would be so amazing when she holds her retreat, that we'll have even more questions for those of you who are tuning in now, and those of us who join her on this retreat journey of learning and sharing.
And it's part of her learning as well.
Oh yeah.
Connecting with her culture.
Interesting you say that, Cathy. What Cathy mentioned about also White Eagle exploring her past, I totally get, because that's the way I feel. We were here coming from the 70s, leaving Malaysia, and initially when you're here, you want to fit in. So, coming into Western culture, my sister, myself, our family looked different. And at some point, I did really want to connect to our culture because most of our friends were either Canadian or if we were going and our family gatherings and all of that, all of the kids shared a common experience. We just wanted to fit in Western culture. So it was much later in my life that I felt, after basically my mom's passing, that I felt I wanted to reconnect to my roots of my culture. And so this is something that set me on this initial journey with dance flow, Qigong, Tai Chi, my mother's passing, as well as our connection with my father. And I think this is whatever culture, and you've mentioned White Eagle has shared that with you, that is another area of exploration.
Things are lost and we want to reclaim them.
Exactly.
What I'm hoping that we're helping an aspect of that for her. And we'll have to go on a DWC trip and go to Malaysia.
Yeah. Oh, that would be cool.
There you go.
All right. The brains are ticking. All right. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you soon again. Thank you so much, Cathy. That was amazing. That was amazing.
It's just so beautiful.
Well, that's the thing. Like everyone always talks about spring, but fall has its own beauty. Every season has its beauty, right? So it's beautiful. Huh?
It's all very special.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is.